Oh, look, I was muted. Everything's fine now. I'm Amanda. I'm also Merriman Lion in chats. And I am going to be painting some very tiny trucks. I am currently in the loft at Battleground Games and Hobbies in Abington, Massachusetts, one of 3 locations. We also have a store in Norton and Saugus. So I'm going to be painting really, really tiny trucks. You can see how tiny this truck is. It's very small, very, very bitty. Wasteland Express is a game where you are a delivery truck driver, delivering food, water, and ammo to various settlements in a post-apocalyptic wasteland that is not at all based off of Mad Max. It's actually got a ton of tongue-in-cheek references going on. We have already painted a bunch of trucks. This game also has the very best, 100% best box insert I've ever seen. It's got like these really nice trays to hold everything, and this is how the game comes. I didn't have to like order this special, it's just how it is. So we have the school bus. This is the Fallen drives this. She's pretty cool. So yeah, actually says the Fallen Express right over the windshield. So we've got that. We've got Big John. He's got his little logo on the side of his cab. That was Big John. We've got Bandit. No relation whatsoever to Smokey and the Bandit. What do you mean? This is Trans Am. Anyway, I actually looked up the Smokey and the Bandit car, which is a like black and gold Firebird Trans Am, I think. I looked it up. So I tried to do the Firebird, but it's got the engine block coming like up out of the hood. So I did try to do the Firebird, but it was a little tricky getting around there. I'm not 100% happy with it. We'll see. I might end up going back, or it's varnished. Like I went ahead and varnished it. I may repaint over it and redo the Firebird. Last week we finished IGAT's semi with a shed off the back of it. It says keep out on it on one side. And fucking long vehicle. So something interesting, and when I say interesting I mean weird, happened last night. We were playing Ghost Stories, which is a really cool game that takes its flavor from Chinese like ghost and haunting horror sort of mythology, and it was a really cool game, and we were really having a good time. And a friend of mine was in the chat, and he loves this stuff, and he mentioned he said at one point that it was like creepy AF, and Automod modded him. I'm a mod in this chat, and Automod modded AF as profanity, and I had to allow AF as profanity. It was like, do you want to allow that and get rid of that tag as a modded tag? And I was like, yes. Why are we modding profanity? We went into the settings, the chat settings today, and we didn't have profanity picked off as something to automod, so who knows? There's a ghost. What's up?
Getting a bit of a whine, so I want to muck around with
I wonder if it's from the speaker. So we're gonna work on Zero's military truck here. She's a badass. She has this big military vehicle. I started doing a base coat on it, so it looks real silly right now. It's just basically like, there's no detail on here just yet. Wait, I do have pictures, so I have reference to work off of. So here's Zero. Like I said, she's badass. Look at her with like her skull cheekbone covers. Super cool. And then there's her truck. I do like that a lot of the trucks do have like identifying stuff on them. Like Big John has his logo, his Stinky Big John logo on his truck. You can see he actually has like the logo on the side of his truck. It was a fun truck to... Out of all of them so far, I think Big John's is my favorite in terms of like, it was super fun to paint. Though he doesn't have that giant skeleton off the front of his truck. The Mini is really tiny, and they just put like, a bunch of spikes on the front of it. But I did manage to get a very tiny version of his logo. I had to use a really tiny pen to get any lettering on there. I did paint the express text. I hear Andy on his way back up here, so that means something is still not right with the stream. Still getting it. Super. So yeah, there's the school bus, and there's the Fallen. And then there's Bandit was the one I did not cleave to the art. I was like, do I do the art or do I do like the actual Smokey and the Bandit car? I went with the actual Smokey and the Bandit car. No reference at all. What are you talking about? They're largely done. What's up?
Should not be getting any sound now.
Like none whatsoever? Am I supposed to be? Am I?
No,
oh, okay.
Fine.
Who knows? We're just gonna, while Andy plays with trying to figure out why, like, there's any problem with the music. So Andy had a laptop. It wasn't a new laptop, it was an older laptop. And he had a laptop that we used to stream the chat up onto a monitor up here behind the camera. And we also used it to play music into the stream. And the laptop died. It wasn't new, and yeah, it yeah, not even all that way. It's got a lot of loose connections and stuff. So we're having a little bit of trouble. So I'm just going to start working on... So don't call me tomorrow. Just working on it. Are you hearing Whitley there? Okay. Cool. If it continues to be a problem, then we can just turn the music off. Like, sad as I will be to not have it, I'll live. Alright. So I have Zero's truck. I've got a base coat on most of the truck. I want to do a little bit for the undercarriage here. And the barrels of the guns. And the tailgate back here. Once I've got that, then we'll start playing with detail work. do the undercarriage. The undercarriage is sort of brown. I got this really ugly coffee metallic here by mixing a sort of army green and silver shadowed steel, I think. So, I enjoy, one of the things that I've been doing, oh good, I'm glad it sounds better now. One of the things that I enjoy doing is making really ugly metallics. I don't think the undercarriage really needs a metallic. I think it just needs brown. It needs to just look weathered. So we'll do that. Just for reference, we are playing music by Miracle of Sound, who is an Irish musician by the name of Gavin Dunn. He used to have videos and stuff on The Escapist. That's how we discovered him. Way back in the day before The Escapist turned into total garbage. I have had this brush for like a week. On camera? Okay. Definitely something I've been learning to dial in is painting while being visible on the camera. This camera, it's not like you have to be directly underneath it, that's almost worse. I thought I could really easily dial in. Oh no, I got brown paint on the tire. I can also had green paint on the tire. These tires are a horror show. That's pretty decent. That tailgate, I feel like that does need to be the ugly metallic. Like it should be the same, it should be like the same ugly metallic as the front. I know we'll figure that out later. Miracle of Sound does video game and movie-inspired songs. He's currently working on a God of War, Dad of War song. We haven't played this game or heard of this game. We were introduced to it by our buddy John, who joins us on our Friday night board gaming streams frequently. He's who introduced us to Ghost Stories last night, which was super fun. We won. We played the game on easy mode, but we won. If you are curious about Ghost Stories, The VOD is up. You can definitely check that out and watch me be baffled by modding my friend Toshi. One of the auto mods I totally understood. Like, we were debating what John's move should be, because he could sacrifice himself by going to this one space and basically giving up the last of like his health, basically, in order to kill a monster that was a threat to us. Or or he could not. And so we were debating. We were like, yeah, the question is, do you kill yourself? And he was like, yeah, I think I kill myself. And Toshi repeated that, like, and used the phrases, kill yourself, kill myself, because he was saying this seems like a very, like, Asian ghost story sort of trope to it. Do I kill myself? You know. And it took the phrase kill myself or kill yourself. And obviously those are phrases that could be used in a really harmful way by trolls or bullies in a chat, and auto-modded that, which, you know, he was just saying, he was participating in the conversation that we were having on stream and referring to a trope, referring to an action we were taking in a game. So I was a little surprised, but then when I thought about it, I was like, that does make total sense that would be a blocked sort of deal. That would be something that you would really want modded. I think we're gonna go with a gray. These are like green on the thing, but I'm not 100% on, like, gun barrels aren't normally green, are they? I looked up this particular vehicle because I know it. We have a National Guard armory in the city I live in, and it actually has like these particular like vehicles shaped like that, specifically with this sort of wedge-shaped front. We have those at the armory near where I live, and so I was looking them up, and I guess the guns are sometimes like the same color as the vehicle that they're meant. I guess that makes sense if they're like camouflaged, that you would also want the barrels of the guns camouflaged. Not all of them are, though. I don't know, these don't always seem to have guns mounted on them. Anyway. Yeah, I guess they can. Reference work. Yeah, like these are basically like, they're meant to be like cargo trucks. And obviously, like, Zero is using it as a cargo truck. She's also just mounted a lot of guns on it. I'm not big into the military myself. I do have friends who are in the military. There are definitely a bunch of guys here. Excuse me. Yeah, I guess it is sort of They are usually like a similar color. It's a truck-mounted howitzer that I have found a picture of from Military Today. The top 10 truck-mounted howitzers. Great. I can't hear the word howitzer anymore without thinking, and not that I hear it a lot, but like anytime I do hear it, my mind immediately goes to Futurama. I don't see howitzer. What were you getting, like, watching the what's it called? The commentary on that? It's like, what exactly was that sentence gonna be? Like, the joke is they're like saying things that are getting them to like fire their guns at each other and destroy each other. They're like robots. Did you say fire? And then they say like, I don't see howitzer. It's like, yeah, did someone say howitzer? But what was that sentence gonna actually be? I don't see how it's her what? It's about mom's robots. How exactly, like what was gonna be the continuation of that sentence? It's a good joke, but yeah, now in my mind I'm always like, I don't see how it's her. Someone say howitzer? Okay, we're gonna do a flat gray. I'm gonna use that. And that. I tell you, bone shadow is like one of my most used colors out of this whole box. I have a very large box of paints and available to me. And for these trucks, bone shadow is like the color to use. Oh boy, bone shadow. Once I get these done, like once I get the gun barrels covered, I think I'll be in good shape to continue to like go start detail work. This is the first song that made me absolutely fall in love with this musician. We saw him live in concert at the Escapist Expo, the first Escapist Expo in North Carolina. First of two. Small conventions are wild. I'm honestly still amazed that the Escapist Expos happened and weren't like a DashCon level fiasco. The fact that they happened at all is magical. The first one was wild. It was like definitely a wild west of a convention. It was a convention that was just like all over the place. It was the convention where I unintentionally managed to convince a bunch of Magic players that I was a total spy. Haha, joke's on you, I'm not. Given the descriptions of the various psychographics for Magic, I think I probably fit into the Jenny Tammy range of things, because I play for the experience of playing. I mean, most people sort of associate the Tammy psychographic in Magic with big stompy creatures. That's not all it actually means. The other way that Timmy and Tammy is expressed is you play for the experience of playing. Spikes, if you want to like get down to the simplicity of it, Spikes play to win, for the experience of winning. Jenny plays for the experience of experimentation. And for sort of the experience of creativity. And Tammy play for the experience of playing. And I do enjoy a fun deck with mechanics that fit together and sort of coming up with ways to make different mechanics interact. And that right there is very much a Jenny Johnny sort of deal. But I also, like, if I have a deck that just flat out works and I get to play and I have, like, some fun interactions, even if it's more like seeing my opponent make something cool happen, I'm totally happy. I played once, it was back during Return to Ravnica, I believe. I played against a guy, and I turned one of his monsters into a frog. And then he gave his new frog monster, double madcap skills. And beat me into the ground with it, and it was fantastic. It was hilarious, because we were both having, like, a fun time. We were joking around, we were laughing about what we were doing, about, like, the visual of, like, this giant frog creature, like, apparently able to juggle. It was hilarious. And that was, like, it's one of my favorite memories of playing in a Magic tournament. Was that moment. I lost the game. I lost both games. They were close, but I did lose both games. Don't care. It's still one of my, like, I don't have a ton of fond memories of, like, winning games and pre-releases and stuff. I have won games, but they're not the ones that necessarily stick with me. It's when the game itself was a fun game to play. And sometimes that means, like, losing. For me, at least. For a Spike, that wouldn't work. But for me, I think the experience of playing is a lot of fun if the other person I'm playing against is also having fun. If their deck fires off and does something really cool and interesting and new and different, totally into it. I want to see what people come up with. I love seeing what people come up with. Alright. So I've got the gun barrels. The tires are staying black for now, because they're going to be black. They're eventually going to have some metallic spikes on them. I'm going to leave that. Why am I putting more of this out? I already have this out. Okay. I was going to paint the back. Jacket. This is the wrong brush for that job. But it's definitely the experience of playing is more what makes that really fun for me. And that means that, like, when someone's being a douche about it, and being like a mean winner, or if they're winning or they're losing and they're, like, super salty about it, that's not fun. That, like, makes my game not fun. Because there are definitely guys who will be like, oh, you only won because you're lucky. I mean, yeah, maybe. Still one. What's the big deal? It's a game. And like at a pre-release, like I don't play like Grand Prix or PPTQs or anything like that. You're playing at a pre-release. It's meant to be a casual event. At most, you're playing for the chance to win cards like a week early. And like sell them at price. Like if that's why you're salty, then I have very little sympathy for you. My sympathy would be dependent on the fact that like you're potentially not getting the chance to make extra money off of your winnings, then I don't have a whole lot of sympathy. Pre-releases are for fun. Okay, detail time. We'll play with that tire in the front later. For now, I think it's time for Camo. It's time for Camo. One of the things about this game is the colors are all real bright. Interesting. What did I use that? I seem to have lost the music again, Indy. Oh no, there it is. It was just being really quiet. We'll do the camo first, and then we'll start playing with the weathering and stuff. Yeah. Okay, because I want that to be metal. I want that to be metallic. I'll do that next. I'm not too worried about this being super bright because I am going to be washing the hell out of this. small. So one of the only things I don't love about this game's minis is that they are, in order to keep them all around the same size to take up the same spaces in the box, they're not to scale with each other. And I don't really... Okay, so Camo. Tips on painting Camo. Which I have done quite a bit at this point. First, you need to pick your base color. For like the rebel troops, I think they're tan. I think they're in, or are they wearing like the green camo from the Endor Moon? Yeah, I mean they're different scales because they all need to fit in the same box, basically. They need to eventually take up like the same space, but they're different types of cars and trucks, so they end up at different scales. Especially Grand Lord Emperor Torque, because you need to be able to see like how messed up he is. Okay, so they're Endor Moon camo. Give me a second. So like Leia's poncho sort of deal. Yeah, so what you're gonna need, they're not in the same, like they're not in like military camo like we have military camo. It's a lot more spray painty looking, to be honest. So what you're gonna want is to pick a base color, probably an ugly green. Like that. Most likely. And then for these guys, what you're going to want to do is get a slightly lighter green. Like that. Boop, boop. And this is actually what I am about to do. So I have this truck is done in this base military green, basically. And I am going to start adding camo bits to it. There are actually two types of camo on this truck. There's a larger form camo on the cover, right across the top here, this brighter, more minty green. And then this is a finer camo pattern on the side of the truck, this sort of corrugated part. And the corrugated part, this should be like a yellower, but I'm gonna end up going over it with different like washes and stuff, so I'm not too worried about that. So what you're gonna do is start. I mean, part of the point of camo is that it's supposed to be on the irregular side. It's not supposed to be as regular a shade. It's supposed to be on that. So now I have this sort of yellowy green. I'm going to be using one of my small brushes. I'm just going to go flip, 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 flip. You don't care how regular or irregular. You want it to be sort of all over the place. It's not going to matter that I'm getting on parts that are going to end up covered over. You basically want to be creating sort of an irregular blotchiness over your base color. See, it's starting to look blotchier. It's not quite stippling, but you're not doing strokes of paint really. Make sure you get there and there are the cracks. If it's a little heavier in some places than others, that's fine. You know, like I said, the whole point of camo is that it's camouflage. It's not meant to be regular because it's supposed to be making you blend in with irregular, natural cover. This particular camo does have a yellowishness to it. I'll use this. And then it has a darker green. So you want to look at what your mid color is, and then you want to be doing touches of the colors sort of above and below it. The fact that I'm doing this and making it all blotchy and stuff is one reason why I wanted to do the camo first, because it's going to end up blopping all over everything. saying, I'm not like super into the military stuff, so I don't like know all this stuff about like military trucks and stuff. I have to look it all up. Yeah, you just randomly put on blotches. You just go through and blotch it up. Leia's poncho, the camo from Endor, is very, like I said, it looks very spray painted. It's got a diffuseness to it that you don't really see when you're looking at like US military camo. But that's okay. Now I'm going in and starting to put darker stuff in. I already had like a mid-brown out. You could, if you wanted, attempt to like sponge paint it. But take it from me, sponge painting on this scale is a giant pain in the butt. Or a very tiny pain in the butt, as it were. So fun fact, I was at Boston Public Library yesterday. The marble that is throughout that building is golden marble, like what I tried to use to make the marbling effect on Steve's figures from Santorini. I actually took a bunch of reference photos. So if I wanted, I could like always recreate the effect, but use like nice, like super close-up effects. Hey. Sure. Oh, some company joining us. Cool. Want to see the camo?
Sort of see it on stream. I mean, the stream does look really good. Yeah. Comes out looking really good.
Yeah. So you're just basically
it's
like
wider swatches on the
yes. So you're going to use a bigger brush, basically. And if you look at the like actual camo used in Star Wars, it's very, like I said, diffused. It looks like it was spray painted on, which it probably was, like by the costume folks. But because of that, you're going to want to use, you're going to want to water down your paint probably a bit so that it doesn't go on fully opaque right away. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
We're going to get some company. Store. No, he won't be on camera, but he will be mic'd. And unless he wants to sit behind the Wasteland Express box over here, because it's visible. He'll be sort of squished next to me, though. Like that. And then if he wants to sit here, he can sit here. Okay, buddy Dan is going to come up and paint some Star Wars. While I finish working on this camo. Shade purple in this. But we are going to go in with a much darker brown because there are definitely some darker spots in it. Not much though. I'm going to be really sparing about it. It doesn't need to be a ton. And then we'll do a dark green. And just try to be, like, not plan where I put things. Like I said, I want to be sparing about this. I don't want to be too heavy-handed. Camo is one of those things that, like, I enjoy painting. I found and it requires a very different type of concentration than, say, very carefully painting like a sign or something. You don't want a pattern, that's like defeats the point. I'm also trying to make sure that I get like under these things, because this would be the entire, like those would have been put on after the camo was. I want to make sure if you're doing something, it's supposed to be under something else. If I didn't want to do the camo first. Hello, hello. If you want to sit here, you'll be on camera. Yeah.
I wanted to make sure you had your water and everything before you got mic'd up. And the only thing to remember is, Well, no.
No,
The
you can
thing
swear.
to remember is that you are mic'd, and if you get up to go to the bathroom or something, don't like yank the mic out of
Yeah.
the sound box.
Someday we'll have wireless mics.
It's gonna happen.
There's totally a precedent.
You're
The trick with wireless mics.
So if you're on camera, I can see it. Okay. I can see half of your shoulder. Yeah.
The trick with wireless mics is you need to remember to mute them when you do go to the bathroom.
Yeah. That we have seen on other things.
Yeah, we definitely have.
So did you say hello?
Oh, I want that green. I'm painting camo.
Ooh, very nice. Oh, that's Wasteland Express?
Yeah.
Where did your bolter go? That's special. Alright.
So you're doing the Star Wars?
No, these are...
Oh, no. No. Look at those.
These are actually for Warhammer 30k. These are Horus Heresy era figures. So.
Fancy. Very nice.
Cool. Well, you folks have fun.
Alrighty. You are here. Nope.
Continuing to make camo blotches.
Alright, someone else here has decided to put their bolter and someone lost their head. There we go.
Well, sometimes these things happen.
There was a bit of an accident in my vehicle the other day. So.
We had a tipping of a box.
A RPG book actually descended into the said box when we stopped short. So.
Yeah, okay.
Could have been worse.
Yeah, it could have been, yeah.
The vehicles didn't impact, only things inside them did, so I'll count that as a win.
Yeah. Has Andy told you about the D&D program we run at the library?
Bits and pieces.
It's a blast, let me tell you. But we've now got 19 kids.
Ooh.
Which is a lot of kids for just me and Andy.
Yes. That sounds a bit chaotic.
Just a tiny bit. And they're also all preteens. So impulse control is not their strong suit. So trying to get them to wait for their turn and not do a ton of crosstalk with each other, because they're also they go to school together, so they know each other and they're friends. So we end up with these groups with tons of crosstalk. And it's chaos. It's absolute chaos. Fun chaos, but chaos nonetheless. So one of the problems we've been having is that we needed characters for all the kids, because even though we're playing Fandelver, Fandelver only has 5 characters that it comes with.
Yeah,
Oh, the
And
premates.
and you don't want 3 of each
Same thing.
of those, yeah. So the problem with that is we'd been doing custom characters for every kid, but you can only do that so much before you're we don't have time to do this.
Character creation never gets out of hand or takes out.
Oh, no, never. So what I did was I went on Wizards' site and was I know they have pre-gen characters, let me see what they've got. And they do have a nice variety of pre-gen characters, but they're all written up in paragraph format. They're not on stat sheets.
Oh. That'll slow it down a little bit.
And I was like, this is for like experienced players who like would want to put that on their like a stat sheet themselves. That would be fine. But these are all kids who've never played before, and they are not going to know what goes where to fill out a stat sheet themselves. So I had to do that. So I've been filling in stat sheet stuff on the PDF form that Wizards has.
Assuming that the correct stat sheets are out there, because I've seen at least 2 different ones now for. They're very similar, but subtly different.
So here's the thing: is that Wizards actually has like there's a folder of 5th edition sheets, and there are 3 different variants, and they're all perfectly valid. But they have them all out there, so I was like, I'm just going to use the same one for all of these kids.
As a product look, I guess the spell cards are definitely worth it.
Oh my god, the spell cards are amazing.
I thought they were a cash grab, and then we got them. Like, how was I playing without these?
So useful. So this is what I did with the spell cards. I took the spell cards and I found all of the cantrips that you can choose from and all of the first level spells that you can choose from each class. And I copied a sheet of all of those. Do you need a pin to... I have... I have this for that purpose.
I'm actually kind of concerned that some of these may have cooked and are now a solid mass.
Well, if you need safety pin to
there we go.
Poke. Okay.
Thank you.
What I did was I took the... I think that camo actually came out really nicely.
Very nice. Subtle, but it works.
Yeah, because it's such a tiny scale. So what I did was I copied all of the spells for each class for like level 1 and cantrips, so that the kids can pick their spells off the sheet of spell cards instead of a list in a book. Because the list in the book doesn't tell you what each spell does.
No, it doesn't. There was a lot of flipping back and forth and hold on a minute and...
Precisely.
I think it does. Does it mean this? Yeah.
Exactly. So what I did was I made sheets for each of them, each class, that have all the spells for that class at level 1. And then we'll make a copy of that sheet and highlight what spells they pick. So if it's highlighted, you can draw upon it. You know, you could prepare it. If it's not highlighted, you don't have it available to you. But then if like they find a scroll or something that has one of those spells, they can highlight it to add it to their repertoire. That way we're not constantly making custom spell lists for kids. Like they have their spell sheet where they can write in the name of it, but in terms of like the description of the spell, they all just have a photocopied version of exactly the same sheet with the details of every spell. But that's going to make it so much easier for them to pick what to play.
It usually takes a session or 2 to kind of figure out what you want to do and
Yeah.
which way you want to take some of that.
Some of the kids will definitely want to change things later. Oh, that's fine. The whole point of this program isn't to be like, and now we play by the rules. It's more, now we play like, and make sure that you're having fun with it, so that you know how this game works and you know how to have fun playing this game. Not get locked into something that you don't actually want to do.
Yeah, I found particularly, it seems like some of the ranger spells are very... You can build it very differently depending on how the campaign's going to go, whether you want
very much so.
The survival and navigation ones versus, I don't need any of this because there's plenty of food around, but I do need all of the combat-oriented stuff.
Yeah.
Because Goodberry is not helping me kill this monster right now.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. That there's definitely sort of a... I wanted to play this character this way, but the campaign is not how that needs me to be doing it.
And one of our ongoing ones, I started out as a Tabaxi Bard, a 6-foot-tall jet black puma.
Which seems fun.
And it's very fun. Since the campaign has gone on, the character is still a Tabaxi Bard, but he is morphed from being a kind of lovable but obnoxious bard into a feline Judge Dredd. To include basically dragon scale armor that looks exactly like Carl Urban's armor from Judge Dredd.
Why not, right?
And lots of hand crossbows.
The blotches on that look good now, and that'll get a wash.
Camo is deceptively hard to do. I've done
It is.
Imperial Guard like that before. Like, oh, this is gonna be easy. I just put a roll and then I put it on, and then
But there are like
It doesn't-
9 different colors, and you have to blotch them randomly because if you, like, you want to make it a pattern, and you shouldn't make it a pattern. So it's one of those things I have fun doing. I was saying I have fun doing it, but it takes a very different type of concentration than painting something that's very neat.
yes.
You have to get out of that neat, clean, straight line mindset and into a more, this is like totally random.
Sometimes it's one of the advantages of Space Marines. Like, well, with this kind of power armor, we're not really worried about being subtle because camo's not going to help when I've literally just run through your wall.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that works better. That's a far better ugly color. I tell you, doing these vehicles has been an exercise in making very ugly colors.
Well, they're all post-apocalyptic, so yes, a lot of...
Precisely. It's like, well, that's got to be uglier. That needs to be a messier color.
I've always found that funny in most of the films, Mad Max, etc., where you end up with cars with all these spikes and stuff like that welded to them. You think it'd be difficult enough to keep these vehicles running, let alone ornament them
With all these spiky details. You would think. And yet they seem to manage. I guess you got to get your kicks somewhere when you're in the post-apocalyptic wasteland.
I like to think that it saved someone's life, that they were going to kill some random guy who still knew how to weld, and he was like, hold up, before you do this,
Let me show you a thing.
let me make your vehicles awesome.
You're
And
like,
they
this man is
did,
right.
yeah. And that's how he saved himself and his family.
It's like, here, kids, let me teach you how to weld. This will save your lives. You're now useful.
It's also how you get orcs.
Such small spaces. That's the thing about these trucks. The scale is so tiny. There's no margin for error on a lot of those. So how have you been doing?
Very busy. Work has been crazy.
Yeah, same.
We are attempting to change over 200 odd computers from Windows 7 or 8.1 to Windows 10. 150 of which are remote users who don't have access to a hardline unless they come to our office.
Good times.
Oh, yeah.
That
that's
sounds
one way
grand.
to say it.
That sounds like a really exciting time for you.
Yes, it's very exciting. considering there's still no plan on how to do a lot of it, and we have to have it all done by 30 June.
Ick.
And on top of that, we have barely enough bandwidth to keep the office functioning now. So whether they're trying to have us re-image 7 or 8 computers a day, we're at a loss right now.
Excuse me. Wow. That sounds miserable, dude.
We'll get through it.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be getting some help. We don't know when.
So one of my coworkers recently retired. And when she retired, there are 3 desks in the room, like in the office that her desk is in. And one of my coworkers was like the newest person in that office. And so she had the middle desk, and the middle desk is not even arguably the worst desk, it is the worst desk. Because it's where the computer that is the server for, it's where the giant color printer is. Because it has to live on one of the desks because there's no other space for it in that office. And it has to live, and like the other desks were being used by people with more seniority, so it ended up on that desk. Which was my desk at the time that happened, and I was the newest person at the time. So I'm very used to that being the case. And but she, was talking about it. She was like, it doesn't seem fair that like the new person that we hire is going to come in and get to sit at like the back desk against the back wall. And I was like, who says she does?
Don't say that.
Like, I like the new person a lot. She's very sweet, and I was on the hiring committee that picked her, and I think she's going to be great, but she's new, and you're not. As soon as this other person retires, you take her desk.
Seize the initiative.
That's what you do.
If necessary, wait till the sun goes down. Yeah.
Literally the day after her retirement, like the next day, we were both working, and she spent the entire day off the desk clearing out the other desk. Because the other person had been there for 17 years. And when you're at the same desk in the back corner of an office for 17 years, even if you take your stuff when you retire, there's going to be stuff left behind, and it's going to be garbage, basically. Some of that garbage, the computer. It was still running Windows 95?
I don't know whether to be upset or impressed.
The reason was it had a lot of files and stuff on it that she'd been accumulating for years and years. It had a lot of stuff on it that she was very used to having work a certain way. And if you're going to be getting new programs and stuff, you need to redirect whatever. I told Andy, I told Jane, I told Julie, if I ever come back, I'm sandblasting that office. I want permission to close the children's room for a day, and 2 days, and just gut that back office. It needs it so bad. The entire wall of shelves on the right-hand side, where like the Storytime collection is, and the holds, there's stuff on those shelves that we don't need, and it's never going to leave until certain people do. But yeah, so this computer was definitely a holdover from earlier days. And it's gone now. So like one of the first things that this other person did, she was like, I have to get rid of this computer. I already talked to one of the IT guys. He says he has a brand new computer for me because this computer has been like slated for replacement for ages.
Yes.
And she keeps refusing, she kept refusing to replace it because she didn't want to risk losing stuff or losing access to programs that she was used to being able to use because they don't work on newer operating systems. When you're used to using something, it can be intimidating to learn how to use something new if you're not like the most technologically confident person in the world. So I understand that. I get it. But at the same time, it was like, well, as soon as she was gone, that computer was going to go. that wasn't going to stick around, because the person who took over that desk was like, no, I'm not keeping this ancient computer that like moves at a snail's pace
and is incompatible with everything that's come out in the last 50
exactly
years.
So that I can keep like an old version of iTunes. Because
The first version of iTunes.
Granted, the new versions of iTunes are like total pants, but I actually ended up staying late, not this past week, but the week before, because iTunes was being a butt to one of my coworkers and like being very difficult to show a playlist that she had created. She was trying to, so well before you could like make playlists and play them off of like a device, what she and the other coworker would do, and this was a very like savvy thing for them to do so that they wouldn't be switching CDs and stuff in the middle of their story times, was they would load all the songs to iTunes and burn a CD.
Okay.
And that made sense at the time. There you have your CD for this story time and you have your CD for this story time. It was a way of making a playlist. Well, now they have all of these old CDs, and some of them are have music on them that like the CDs that they got them from are gone, like they broke and we can't replace them. So the only place that some of these songs now exist in our collection is on these playlist CDs. So what they were trying to do is grab some of those songs to make a new playlist, but actually make it a playlist to play off of a device, because that's current and you want to be able to do that. And it would not work. She was like, but I pulled all the songs off of this CD. It has a green check mark next to it. Why can't I find it?
Yes, they store them in weird places.
Every track is in the right place except for track 13. Where the hell is track 13? And of course they don't have names, so it's just track 13. But of course she has like 4 different track 13s from different CDs. So, yeah, that was quite the experience. So what we ended up having to do was unplug the iPad that she was using, plug it back in again because we couldn't get it to sync until we had unplugged it and re-plugged it in, sync it again, at which point, because it wasn't even showing the playlist, the playlists that were on, that we could see on her iPad, we could look at them on her iPad, and looking at iTunes, at her iPad on iTunes on her computer would not show us all of the current playlists. There were like 4 missing. Not ones she'd made recently, just 4 of them were missing. But you could see them on the iPad, but you couldn't see them on the computer.
Oh, that's special.
Yeah, like, she's like, Amanda, what's wrong with this? And I was like, I don't know. What's wrong with it is that iTunes is horrible now. That's what's wrong with it. So we ended up having to resync the iPad to the computer. It took forever to do. And then once it had finally done that, we were able to take the song. We were able to find the track. We renamed it. Made sure it was on the computer. Put it in a specific playlist so we knew where to find it, and then went to that playlist and dragged it into her iPad once we had synced her iPad, and then we were able to see it to put it into a specific playlist. It took, I was like 15 minutes late leaving work, and I started helping her like at 4:45, and I left at like 5:15. Current iTunes, guys, it's really bad. It's really bad.
Yeah, there's been a couple changes to that. I'm not sure how this got better. It's making it harder for me to do what I wanted to. But
Exactly. Well, I think, so this is my personal theory on it, is that the changes that they've done on the current iteration of iTunes are all to make you fed up with using iTunes for your own music and move to Apple Music and do all of your like music listening, not by owning media, but by owning the right to access the media. or renting the right to access the media. That's what I think is going on. That's my theory. Is that like they're purposefully handicapping your access to owned media. Oh wow, we got some follows.
Oh.
Sweet.
Those
I did not hear, Andy. So Steampunk Gnome and Rayru18, thank you. Oh, we missed them yesterday during the stream. We were so busy running from ghosts and fighting them.
Wait, what?
We played Ghost Stories on stream yesterday, which is a game about like Chinese folklore and hauntings, and it was really cool. It's a really great game. We had a really great time playing it.
There's quite a few interesting ones that have come out in the last year or two. I'm like, I want to play that.
Are you busy on Friday nights?
Yes.
I assume you are.
Well, it's not just that. It's that it's almost impossible for me to get down here in a timely manner. Traffic is that bad.
Oh, I know.
I work in the seaport, and I live in Everett. My new record is 1 hour and 25 minutes to go just under 6 miles.
Yeah, that's a good time. I called Andy. So yesterday was staff day for my workplace, where we close the library for a day and have like staff training, and then we go on a field trip. So we went to BPL yesterday, which was a lot of fun because we got like a behind the scenes tour.
Oh, cool.
So we got to like go back into the circulation areas, and we got to go up into the reference stacks, like the off limits, like only staff go up here reference stacks. I will show you a photo because it is just one corridor on one floor, and there are like 5 staff floors that are full of stacks. They have apparently finally run out of space for reference stacks, which they never thought would happen, but it happened. But one of our assistant director used to work there, so he knew people, and he was like, "Can we please go see this?" And they were like, "Okay, fine, let's go see it." So we got to go up into the reference stacks and take a look, which was very, very cool. And but like we finished up at like 4:45, and then we had to go back to Quincy at rush hour. And like there were other people on staff who were like, "We're not gonna try and like go back to Quincy during rush hour. We're gonna like just stay in the city and have dinner."
Yep.
And I was like, "Nope, I have to be on a stream at 7:30 in Abington, so I gotta go." So I ended up taking the train back with a couple of other coworkers who had to. One of whom who lives like north of Boston.
And the
so
train
she's
might
good.
be manageable. 93 is met by Gandalf. You shall not pass.
Yeah. I don't
Shall
know
not
how long it
pass,
took Sam to get
you
home.
shall not go anywhere.
Yeah, the train, I mean, it was tight, and one of my coworkers he's a tall, burly guy, and he did not get a seat.
No, that's if you're talking the red line, that's packed.
Yeah, red line to green line, or green line to red line. Like, you're getting on the red line at Park Street, you're not getting a seat.
Nope. Not until maybe Wollaston's closed right now, so.
North Quincy is where everyone gets off these days, because they catch the shuttle buses from North Quincy to Wollaston. Like, everyone who's getting off for North Quincy gets off there, and then everyone who needs to go to Wollaston gets off at North Quincy, because it's more likely you'll get a seat on a shuttle than to stay on the train to Quincy Center and go backwards. I will say the shuttles are doing quite nicely. They actually have, the shuttles actually stop right in front of my library branch, which is cool. Testing bit notifications. Yeah, I can't hear a thing because the music is so soft, Andy. But thanks for the one puppy bit.
Are people trying to communicate with us?
Andy is.
Ah.
I have chat up on like my screen, and then I have my computer muted so we don't get an echo. But yeah, at like 6 o'clock, I called Andy, and he was like, "Hey, where are you?" And I was like, "I just hit Quincy.
Not sure anymore.
I will be there soon, but man, am I tired." We did an emergency planning sort of activity in the morning in the library. The staff members were all paired off, and everyone was given a different list of locations in the library, or they were all the same locations but in a different order.
Okay.
And you had to go to the different locations in the order that you had been given. And the idea was to get you thinking about different ways to get from different places in the library, so that you're not always trying to like go exactly the same route, which I thought was a really good idea. But it did mean that like that library is 3 stories and 2 buildings.
Ah.
It's big, plus the basement and the sub-basement under the garage. Like there's a lot there. It's just a big building.
It's larger than I realized.
It's very big, because there's the original library building, the Richardson building, and there's the main building. But the main building has then had an extension put onto it. That was about 17, 18 years ago. And then there's like the garage and the basement under the original building and the basement under the garage, and mechanical rooms and fire stairwells and back offices and stuff like that. And those were all distinct spaces that we needed to be visiting, but because you're meant to do them in like a different order than your normal routine, which was kind of funny because I was paired up with one of the custodians and he was like, "This is like a normal day." This is a normal day for me. But because of that, I must have gone up and down like those 3 flights of stairs probably about 9 or 10 times during the course of like an hour. And that's a lot. And then we went into Boston and walked all around the BPL. Like we saw the entire BPL. And me being a giant nerd the entire time, I'm like, in Fallout, there's a turret here. In Fallout, there are super mutants coming down this hallway. There's a bobblehead through that door in Fallout. Because I'm a giant nerd.
I was moderately disappointed in Fallout that the Boston Common was not, in fact, populated by gigantic mutant squirrels, which it totally would be.
I really loved the idea of Swan, the giant super mutant that lives in the pond. And if you get a hold of the groundskeeper's report, which is near Swan's Pond, the groundskeeper complains of the park being reduced to a postage stamp, which explains why it's so tiny small in the game. He's like, it's bad enough that they've taken over the original park and that my entire job now consists of like cutting the grass on a postage stamp. But now they're going to do this and this other thing, and this is ridiculous, and I hate it. And it's like, oh good, in-game acknowledgement that like it's a much smaller space than it should be. But I thought that was funny. I was disappointed that there was no green monster reference.
I don't think anyone wanted to be attacked by a part of the scenery.
No, but you would have thought that like they could have had like a giant green super mutant and be calling it the Green Monster or something. Like you would think that there would be some sort of
Reference.
like, you know, tongue-in-cheek nod to it, and there just isn't.
Or somebody that's running the organization out of the wreckage of Fenway Park wearing what's left of the wall.
Right, you know, like you'd think there'd be something. Andy wants to know if you have a spare netbook with HDMI out. His laptop died, and it's what we used to use to put chat there and have sound. He's just sad that he has no. His laptop died. His laptop was old though. It had a life.
I barely have a functional computer. I have games on my Steam that I cannot play until I get a new computer. But the sale was too good for me to pass up.
Well, now you'll have them when it becomes possible.
Someday Battlefleet Gothic. Someday.
Alright. I've done the spikes on the wheels. I think I'm going to do touch-ups on the wheels themselves next. And then we'll do some rust.
Ooh.
Time for rust. All these cars, all these trucks have rust on them. This is the one I'm most proud of.
Ooh. Very nice. I think I have... I do. I broke down. I think it should still be good. We got some of the technical paints, so we've got the blood one. We've got Rise of Rust, and... oh, that's not the right thing. I thought I had the blue one, too.
See, for something this small, I tend to just dry brush rust red on because it's so tiny.
Yeah, the verdigris oxide, which is really cool.
Oh, cool. I haven't played with any of the technical paints.
Some of them are better than others. Some of them are great. Some of them, like, that's $4 I'm never getting back.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never played around with them. I don't... Like, how do you do the... Like, is there a specific technique to doing the rust?
Not particularly. Some of
just...
it's consistency, some of it's just kind of
being
gentle. It's almost like dry brushing.
Okay.
I'm missing a Vallejo one there. I should be better organized than this, but I'm not. I talk about, like, hey, I'm going to put the paints all in different... No, never happens.
Yeah. You think about it when you're, like, painting and you don't have time to do it, and then you don't do it when you've got the time to do it.
Yeah, there's kind of a Vallejo version, too. It's a smoke, which is an interesting... brown.
Yeah.
But depending on how you apply it, it has different effects.
Very cool. I'm using Derek's Reaper stuff. All right. It's time. It's time for rust. No, that works there.
Still waiting for the new box for Legion to come out with the Rebel Commandos. Because that has the Mon Calas in it.
Ah.
Or at least a Moncal from what I've seen.
Yeah, at least one.
If it's got Moncals or Wookiees in it, it basically sells itself to me, so...
I can appreciate that. Whoa, that was way too much paint. Bane of a dry brushing. I'm not doing that on camera enough, am I? I've got the little document camera in front of me, so I'm trying to like make sure I do things under the camera.
Well, this is good because it's actually motivating me to paint today.
Good.
I have several ongoing projects, several of which have been years, and there's at least 4 different groups now. I have 30K, I have 2 different Space Marine chapters for 40K, and Imperial Guard or Astromilitary Stormtroopers for 40K. I never quite got finished.
You know, these things happen.
I get real busy, or I lose my space I'm working in for a while. I get sucked back into Civilization and Minecraft or one of the various.
Gonna do some. So one of the things that I've like figured out looking at these, they're held together with like masking tape.
Yes, or duct tape, one or the
But
other.
no, look, the duct tape is definitely silver.
Oh,
It's masking tape.
okay. It's a technique. It's not the preferred technique, but it's definitely a technique.
I was like, man, that doesn't feel like it would last that long. So sometimes I'll use silver for like duct tape, but sometimes I'm just like, nope, they're getting white for masking tape. They're getting some off-white striping.
That's an interesting point because at that juncture, duct tape would be a commodity. Like that
Oh,
would be
yeah.
worth thousands of bottle caps or whatever they happen to be using
Yeah.
for currency. Be an ongoing quest for the last rolls of duct tape and the last Twinkies.
Mm.
making progress here. This is good.
Yay, progress. I just slapped that on and got it everywhere.
But it's rust, right?
No, this
Oh.
was just a metallic.
That could be optimal in some ways.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's organic.
We'll just slap a little green over it. It's fine.
How many of the vehicles are there for this? I forget.
There are 6 player trucks and 3 raider trucks and Grand Lord Emperor Torque.
Nice. Like Lord Humongous? From, Yes, it actually very much is. That is cool. Is he one with the vehicle?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
He's
so
fused to his car.
that is very much Mad Max meets 40K. I like it.
He goes right there. And then those are the raider trucks. And they each have their own little raider symbol. So that's a bone saw. The 9-9,
Okay.
which is the Route 66 symbol, upside down. And the railman,
Alright.
the railroad symbol.
I like
And
it.
they move according to when you land on a space. If it has one of the raider symbols, you get to move one of the raider trucks somewhere.
So is this a competitive or a co-op?
It's competitive.
Okay.
So you can move them into your opponent's ways.
So kind of like moving the bandit in Catan.
I guess I'm not a big Catan
okay.
person. But like you get to basically make your opponent's lives hell.
Same idea.
Yeah. So like the tiles look like that.
Okay.
The raider trucks sit in the center of each space, and if you move into a tile that has a raider truck in the center, it will fire at you.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I end my turn sitting on like the bone saw one, I get to move the bone saw truck somewhere
else.
And some of them, like this lovely irradiated space, you get to pick which raider truck to move.
Ooh.
Because it's all one space. I very much like this game. It's a lot of fun. Look, there's Bandit. Not at all influenced by Smokey and the Bandit at all. I totally didn't do the Smokey and the Bandit car when I painted it.
Very nice. Is that got a cart stuck on the back of it?
Yeah, it does. It's how he carries his cargo, because you're a delivery driver.
How long does it take to play?
or so, like an hour and a half. Depends on if you're doing the full version or the like intro version.
Okay. A couple weeks ago here we played Bunny Kingdom, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about it. I have not had a chance to play Bunny Kingdom yet.
It had a surprising amount of strategy and depth for a game that plays pretty quickly. Once after the first turn or so, until you get a hang of it, it's like, oh, okay.
You know how it works.
Yes.
I kind of like games like that where like they don't take long to figure out how to like do the basics.
Yes.
But the strategy can make the game so much more interesting.
It's like, unfortunately, before we moved away, Brett had Scythe, which seemed like it was a lot of fun. And we got to play it once, and it took kind of a full game to figure out, like, okay, this is how to play. And then we never get to play again because he moved to Nevada. So hopefully he's doing well in this way. But yeah, there was definitely, I was like, can't wait to, I'll know what I'm doing next time, and I won't make silly mistakes from the start. That's more paint than I meant.
I have done that, and I've been like, why won't it come out of the... Oh, now it's all out of the bottle.
It's all here now. Excellent. And then there was Small World, the game which, after playing it for several years, we realized we had been playing wrong the entire time.
Oh, no.
For many years, there was some of the mechanics just didn't really make sense. You're like, why would you not go into decline every other turn? And then someone finally reread the rules and was like, hey guys,
we don't do that.
And suddenly there was an additional level of the strategy that, oh, that's why sometimes it's very beneficial not to do that.
First time I ever played Small World, I ended up playing with this guy at a bar at a hotel after PAX one year. We were hanging out with some folks we had met at PAX, and everyone was sort of hanging around in a hotel lobby. It was at the Renaissance, playing games, having fun, doing stuff. Mm-hmm. And we were having a good time. And we were like, we were looking for a game to play, and one of the guys who was there was like, oh, hey, this guy Randy was looking for people to play with. He'll play Small World with you. And we were like, okay, cool. So we played Small World, and he kept asking, he's like, you guys want anything to drink? Like, why don't you, like, order a drink, it's cool. And we were like, no, we're good. And, only out, like, midway through did we realize we were playing with Randy Pitchford from Gearbox.
I feel like I should know who that is. I'm going to embarrass myself by saying
runs
I
Gearbox
don't.
software.
Okay.
and we're like, oh. And I guess he'd been encouraging everyone to just, like, put drinks on the tab at the bar.
Oh.
And then the waiter brought it over to one of the other guys there, who had, like, been the guy who was, like, showed up first. And he was like, oh my god. And before Randy went over and was like, no, I'm covering it, it's fine. That's why it's so big, is I've been telling people to put stuff on the tab. Because I'm covering it. So that was pretty cool. But we were very tired and very clueless at the time.
I kind of like, it seems like,
which
I just want to play games. I'm not walking like, hi, do you know who I am?
Exactly. And that was the thing. He just wanted to, like, hang out and play games with folks. So I may not like every, like, decision he's ever made, but I will give him respect for, like, just hanging out.
Well, the only perfect games are the one you create in your own mind. So.
Right. Like I may like have quibbles with things that things he's done and stuff, but he was fun to play a game with. He certainly seems to be having a good time, so.
We have one of those at our table.
Yeah.
No one ever uses it, but it's there. It's like, oh god, good hundreds of D&D miniatures that populate our apartment. Most of which will never be used, and probably never should, because they're the kind of things, like, if that's on the table, this isn't a fight. This is to see who's going to be left alive.
Yeah, this is a slaughter. Yeah.
That dragon takes up more space on the map board than the entire party combined. Yep, it's over. TPK underway.
Have you seen the video of the DM bringing out the final boss of his party's campaign, and it's like the size of a person?
No.
It's like an elder god that has broken through into our reality, and he made it using like expandable foam and a wire frame and lots of needles for its teeth.
Good lord. Like
and it has lights coming out of its mouth, shining onto him because it's facing him as like at the head of the table. And he had the lights off, and he starts with the lights turning on and shining on him, and then there's a fog machine, and it is like the most dramatic reveal ever. It's fantastic. And like his entire party is like, oh my god, we're gonna die.
Yep.
And at the very end of the video, one of the party members says, guys, I don't think our plan's gonna work.
No.
I'll find the video later. I'll show it to you.
That sounds awesome.
Such fine detail. Yes, Andy. There's a lot of detail on this.
I'm a long way away from that stage here. We're still applying basic colors. And these guys are taking even longer since there's 4 different color schemes for one army. One of which has to be painted twice.
Ooh.
Technically 3 times.
I'm gonna have to redo the Z on that, but I'm pretty happy with how that's looking. I blopped the Z.
It still looks
It's
all right.
it's uneven with the other letters, so.
That being said, I'm guessing that the educational system of the Wasteland is probably leaves a little bit to be desired.
Most likely, yeah. I mean, one of these people is driving a school bus, but I don't think there's any educational facility that it goes to. Okay, that actually worked out pretty well. I'm going to have to do some touch-ups. But that's why I haven't done the washes or anything on it yet. So that I can touch up without it looking like complete pants.
Doing stuff that's dirty is always a challenge too. It's like balancing out, making it look good versus...
Exactly.
Well, it's supposed to be covered in mud and rust, and I seriously doubt there's a Mr. Bubbles car wash anywhere in the Wasteland that's still functional.
No. That would be kind of funny though, have like a Wasteland car wash.
Then again, yeah, I can kind of see that being someone who has a commodity.
Yep. Well, sandblast your vehicle. That looks good now.
Ooh, yeah.
So I'm just gonna redo the Z on the front. And then there we go. Much better. There, better.
Ooh, yeah, looks good. I like it.
It is really hard to do on a corrugated surface, Andy. You are correct. Doing nice, even, clean lettering on a bumpy surface, really hard, as it turns out. I'm going to touch up these wheels.
Yeah, those are the challenges of the Wasteland. Painting on corrugated surfaces, making sure the rats you're consuming aren't too irradiated.
You know,
Daily struggles.
like normal people deal with, right? These are the struggles of normal, everyday people.
That's probably not the color I wanted. Okay.
Oops. These things happen.
That's better. A couple of these guys are overpainted.
No.
Well, they're supposed to be.
Okay.
So it's trying to balance out so that you can still sort of see what they originally were, but they've definitely been overcoated. With some of them, it's worked out very well.
And others not so much.
Others, these ones, yeah, not nearly as much as I would have liked. Blue-green did not come through the white as well as I was hoping for. So. That's a lot better.
There we go, looking good. I think it might actually be getting time for a wash.
Ooh. Much better. Just need a second coat.
Sometimes that's like all you need. It's like, oh, this looks horrible. Second coat. Oh no, it's fine. Like me with every coat of yellow, except then I need like 5 coats of yellow.
Yes.
I've been saying that yellow is like my most despised color to paint with.
It's definitely a challenge.
Nope.
It's logical.
I guess. There are definitely other Magic players who would be like, no, I always have to win. That's why I don't play much competitive Magic anymore. I was saying earlier, I just don't find it fun to play against people who are angry when they lose.
Yes.
Like, don't love losing, but if I'm playing against someone who's obviously having fun playing, and like they take losing, or like even me doing well like once, fine, then that's fun to play against. Or if they're like winning but not gloating about it, that's fun. Even if like they're crushing me, I'm like still like appreciative of what they're doing. If their deck is fun and they're obviously having fun playing it. But if they're like bitter that they're playing against me because I'm not like
Their caliber.
up to their standard, then it's like boring. Because like I only like really play at pre-releases, or at least that's what I used to do. And it's like if you're playing at a pre-release, guess what? It's all casual.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference between someone that's going out of the way just to pummel someone into the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Or if you're playing something where you genuinely afterwards have to question, like, was that person cheating? It's like,
Right.
I don't know the mechanics of your army or your deck or whatever, but so maybe you just did really well, or maybe you're taking full advantage of the fact that I don't.
That I don't know the specifics. Yeah, I can think of a few people like that. Sadly.
I think everybody can. It's always that. Yep, that one. Yeah. Kind of right up there with dice scoopers.
Yeah.
Or I mean, if it's D&D, you're kind of like, well, I mean, at least it's my advantage too.
Yeah. Oh, look, a nat 20.
Every time. Wow, you're on fire.
Amazing. Who would have guessed?
We had a party that kind of died because that was a factor. Not the entire thing, but other people, you start to get bored. You never get to do anything. It's like, oh, you already set every one of the enemies on fire.
Yeah, that's not fun to play with.
Like, we're not dead too, which is cool, but
It would have been like I'm playing this to play it, not to watch someone else like crush everything in our path. If I wanted to watch, like I'd spectate a game, I wouldn't have rolled up a character. All right, it's time for a wash. You're listening to the same conversations I am.
sometimes you hear some just amazing things.
Oh, yeah. Let's get some dirt on this thing.
Alright. Starting a little bit of clean up here and some of the trim. Apparently doesn't want to carry his combat knife anymore. That's okay. We'll discuss this later.
We'll have a conversation about this later. Fine. Don't have to carry it now. We'll discuss this when we get home.
I don't want to hear anything about you don't even take me out of the car anymore. It's not that cold. You'll be okay.
You'll be fine.
did also forget to collect up several of the other paints I needed for my other project for my roommate. I was working on Tau, which is upsetting, but no one's perfect. He's also got Blood Angels, so I can still talk to him.
Each round, each player is putting down final things they want to do, and then the card will say which one of these 6 things that you're going to do. It's going to be explore, settle, reduce. Yeah, so all of them do it. Okay, all of them do a particular thing.
So I had my first big paint spill about a month ago. I tipped the better part of a jar of chestnut ink out into my lap.
It's always a wash. It's always a wash.
Yep.
And then it's everywhere.
Right into my lap. And most of it actually went into my lap, not onto the floor. So there's something there that I didn't get the entire loft covered in chestnut ink. But I did get my jeans covered in chestnut ink.
Now you got to clean up and continue painting.
Yeah, well, I ended up ending the stream because that was a thing. And then I had to take a break.
Please stand by.
Deal with the pants.
We are experiencing technical difficulties.
I discovered that jeans can actually take a good scrub, which I kind of knew, but now I definitely know they can take a good scrub. Dishwashing detergent, hand dishwashing liquid, and a toothbrush will really give you a good scrub on that. All right. Wash on that is on the heavy side, so that's going to sit for a little bit. It's going to sit. And while that sits, we'll think about the last truck.
Which one is this?
This is Tweak's front end loader. It's this bad boy right here.
Oh, this is untouched so far.
Oh yeah, this is the last one.
Nice. It is literally a front end loader dragging a Connex. Oh,
Yes. Yeah, it is. I like that it has a spoiler attached to the back of it. That's a spoiler on a front end loader. Good times, good times. It's driven by Tweak. Tweak apparently has his entire face bandaged. So I don't know how he drives. Apparently, in the future, you don't need eyes to drive as a delivery driver.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Tweak starts with a rad shield and a missile. Bandit's special ability is that he's faster than everyone else. Which makes sense. Oh god, it's yellow underneath.
Oh no.
God damn it.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because that's what
It does, it's a construction vehicle. I'm very disappointed that the skulls are not molded into the wheel wells. Like that front one is. Okay. I have a scale concern here.
Okay, let's see what we got.
This is a front end loader, right? Like, look at the scale on that, right? Like that's the shovel. This is a skull. That wouldn't fit in the cab.
Well,
Whose skull is this? Thanos? Look at that.
that is an excellent point. So,
This is the last truck, Andy, yes. Yeah, that's a really large skull.
it could be something he found from like a.
Is it one of like the...
kind of.
Is it one of like the pilots from the like one of the aliens from the like alien movies?
I was thinking maybe it was something he located from a Day of the Dead kind of ceremony, or thought
It's
it
just
was
really big.
cool. It's definitely way too big to be a human.
DG Dell! Hello, my friend. It has been a while. How's it going? Oh, good to see you. We're good. We're painting. I'm here. Next to me, whose arm you're seeing?
Hello.
Oh, whose face is suddenly in shot.
What?
It's our friend Dan. Hanging out with us. I'm painting trucks, my friend. And discussing how large this skull is in comparison to the rest of the truck. It's really big.
It kind of reminds me too of the face on the front of the main evil truck in Maximum Overdrive. It's got the big goblin on it.
It's just very large. DG Dell says hi to you. He's one of our regular viewers from Florida. Exactly. It's either a huge skull or a tiny truck. And it's definitely not a tiny truck, so. Alright. I'm very annoyed. I'm also annoyed that apparently there's a sign on the wall behind this spoiler. That's not happening. I don't have the brush skills for that nonsense. Maybe I do. I don't think I do.
Yeah, that's a little...
Look at how tight that space is to get in behind that spoiler. I don't think I have the brush skills for that.
I don't think most people do. That's
Anyway.
and that seems it's almost too small to print.
Yeah. Like, look at what's supposed to be behind that spoiler.
No.
Yeah, like that's not happening. It's supposed to be this right here. I don't have those skills. Yeah, it's a sign behind another piece. Like the whole idea is that it's supposed to be a trailer off the back of this thing, but the mold of the truck has the spoiler right up against. There's like, yay much room.
The only way I can readily think to do it would be if you have to cut the model apart. And then do it and then glue it back together. So it's probably not worth
it. Is not worth it. Not for this game. Like, I really like this game, but I'm not going to be playing with the... Yeah, I'm not chopping the piece apart and painting it and gluing it back, yeah. It's bad enough that I have to paint it yellow.
The only thing, if you could find it online, print it out and then glue
Decal it? Yeah.
I did that once with a Space Marine Company banner. So like, there's no way I can paint the details. So I printed it out, carefully cut it, and glued it onto the banner. It came out really good.
I'd have to use tweezers to get it in place. Yeah. I don't know if it's worth it. I may just make it orange and put like some white blotches on it. So one of the best tips I ever got was for painting yellow to put tan down first. Because the brown in the tan tends to make it opaque faster.
Okay. That makes
it was
sense.
One of the best tips I ever got.
I'm guessing this is a Derek?
No, actually
really?
It was oh, what the heck is his name? Matt, big guy. Hold on, I'll find out. I know in chat he's Thunder Speaks, but that either I have him on Facebook or Allie does.
Matt Dugan?
No, not Matt Dugan. Now, Matt Dugan, I know. He works here.
Yeah, no, it's,
I don't take offense because we had our own stuff like that. You know, there were two help desks. We had our own stuff like that.
I think I can.
It's something. Oh, it's gonna annoy me. I'm gonna figure it out though.
Next.
I have no idea.
That's okay.
That's gonna.
I don't know who it is.
I'll figure it out at some point. In any case, he was in chat and I was complaining about yellow, and he was like, "What? White isn't the worst?" And I was like, "No, because white tends to go on at least evenly, if not opaque. So that I'm not like fussed over because I just want another like coat, no problem, right?" But yeah, go for it. That's why I keep it with me.
There we go. That's...
But I was complaining about painting yellow, and he was like, you know, a trick with yellow is to paint tan down first, because then you have a base coat that works with it.
That makes a lot of sense.
And it has a tendency to be a lot more even when it first goes down.
Okay.
I thought that's actually a really good idea. Feels busy for a day when there's no like events going on.
I think if it hasn't started raining yet, it's supposed to, so I don't know if that may or may not be a factor. But again, we're not necessarily the most outdoorsy group as a whole.
So there's this comedy troupe, Loading Ready Run, that Andy and I follow. And they did a whole series of videos for Wizards about playing Magic. And at one point, they're like being commentators, and they're like, yes, it's a lovely day here in Victoria, British Columbia, and it's a beautiful day, perfect for staying inside and playing Magic. I'm like, yep, that's pretty much, yep.
I'm not sure what else needs to be on these guys. Do a little research here. Alright, interesting. It's not what I envisioned, but okay, I can work that.
So he's like, oh, that's not what I thought it was going to be. I'm actually going to look up. Yeah, I was just saying, it sounds busy in here. Andy, I'm looking up an actual front-end loader so that I can see what it looks like. Like where the yellow paint on it actually is.
There's definitely one outside. I know.
Yeah, I could just go look. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Doing something in that field today. I had no idea they were planning to widen the road.
Yeah.
When I came down a couple weeks ago, like, what's going on?
Why is everything all dug up?
There's dead trees everywhere. We're gonna get attacked by ants. I'm just saying.
Or rats. It's one of the things they don't always take into account when they go like digging up buildings and stuff, is that rats that were living in like the crawl spaces and stuff then don't have anywhere to live. And they want to go somewhere.
Yes, or water.
Yep.
The thing that apparently no one bothered to consider when they began the big dig was how much of the land they were going to displace was landfill.
Yeah.
And then they suddenly had basements that had been bone dry since the construction of the building 30, 50 years ago were suddenly flooding.
Yep. Yeah, the new high school in Quincy, the new Quincy High, there was a marsh there. And when they started digging it up, lots of rats. Lots of rats in the surrounding area.
They get a little scary. I like some rodents.
Let's see.
The local hawk population must have been very excited.
Oh, I'm sure they were. I'm sure they were very happy to have such a readily available food source suddenly appear.
Or at least the owls, because I think the rats are nocturnal, or would prefer to be. I could be completely wrong about that, though.
We certainly had a sudden mouse problem at the library.
I just need to get a library cat. Yeah.
Believe me, I would love one. I don't think it would go over very well.
You probably have an allergy concern, if nothing else.
Yeah.
These guys are going to require a lot of touching up.
Yeah. Debating shuffling techniques downstairs.
I believe they are, yes.
Yeah.
I also heard the phrase $200 card. This is not a cheap hobby. I'll be the first to admit that.
Nope, definitely not.
For $200, I want a card that, like, I win, right?
Yeah.
No, really. This is like a $200 card. I won the game. Thanks.
So a few years ago, I played Magic back like in the earlier days, and then I got out of it. I gave my brother all my old cards. I had no idea what he did with them, beyond that, like, I knew he didn't still have most of them. And one Christmas he sent me home. He was like, "Here, open this when you get home." And I was like, okay. Went home and he had given me a wrapped shoebox of old Magic cards. And most of them were garbage. Like, we're talking the most basic commons ever. And things that he had printed out, color copies of things, and rubber cemented them onto other common cards.
Okay.
to proxy. But in among them were a handful of actually very expensive cards. And so Andy and I, like, went through them. We were like, oh, there's, like, some actually decent stuff in here. But we aren't, at the time Andy wasn't working here, I was like, I'm not immediately familiar with all of this. And I don't know, like, cost and rarity on all of these older cards. So I brought them in here. I handed them to Kale. And I was like, hey, Kale, can you tell me, like, just pull out cool and money.
Okay.
I already knew that there was an Italian Maze of Ith in there, which is cool. And not like money, but definitely not like a cheap nothing of a card. Because it's like Italian the Dark, like original Maze of Ith.
Okay.
And then Kale's going through it, and he was like, oh, you missed this, obviously. He shows it to me. It's a Tundra. Legit dual lands. Yeah.
I have no idea what that means.
It's like, these are cards they're never going to reprint. And like a mint condition one is worth a couple $100.
Ah, okay.
This is not mint condition because these were played when, like, my brother was in middle school. So, like, in the 90s.
Okay.
At the same time, even a heavy play version of a Tundra is, like, a ridiculous amount of money. So, for like a piece of cardboard. So that's in a safe place. No. It's not actually for sale. I know I had other dual lands when I originally played. I don't know what happened to them because, like I said, I gave them to my brother. Because I didn't have a Tundra. I had like a Taiga and a Badlands. But much as I wish I could find them, alas, they are gone.
So you probably don't want to know what some of the stuff's worth at that point.
No, at that point you're just like, nope, I'm just gonna let it go.
When my parents downsized and moved, they still had all of my stuff.
Oh.
And they go, oh, you should come by and go through. Like, nope, just get rid of it. Are you sure? Yes, I am absolutely sure, because this is not going to be an hour and sorting through stuff. This is going to be 6 or 7 hour trip down memory lane, and I'm going to leave with 2.5 tote crates full of toys that I don't need.
Yeah, but that you don't want to get rid of if you were to go through them. Yeah, guess what I'm doing after I leave here tonight? I am going down to my dad's house to do just that sort of thing.
It's like, I haven't needed these for 15, 20 years. I don't need them today, and I'm not going to be able to part with stuff. Oh, I remember this.
Yeah. The frustrating thing about going down to my dad's house is that my mother and my brother are absolutely convinced that, like, I have a metric ton of stuff in that house. And they keep forgetting that while my brother lived there in the summers, like, all throughout high school, and after college he still would go down there sometimes, I did not. That, like, I graduated from high school in 1997, and I spent one summer there afterwards. I spent the summer, and it wasn't even a full summer, after my freshman year of college. And after that, I did not live there anymore. And the stuff that's in my bedroom there is not, for the most part, is not my stuff. It's stuff that landed in that bedroom because that bedroom wasn't being used that much. So things, like, got deposited in there. As, like, for storage. That does not make it my stuff, nor does it make it my problem. Apparently it does. But, like, I don't want to touch a lot of that stuff because it's actually not mine. And I don't know, like, what should be done with it, but I don't want to be the one to make that decision. But my mom's like, oh, you have a lot of books in there. And I'm like, no, actually, I don't. None of these are my books. And she's like, well, whose books are they? And I'm like, I don't know. Someone stashed them in here. I don't know what they are.
Yeah, there were instructions to keep two things when they moved. The G.I. Joe aircraft carrier and the XF-14. Yes, those were valuable.
Yeah. We did theoretically have the original Fireball Island.
Oh, wow.
Board game.
Yes.
But my guess is that is long gone because it was that, like, vacuum form plastic. And it was old vacuum form plastic. I am sure that thing cracked and fell apart. That's not something that would have had a really long life.
Did it work?
I mean, it worked in that it did send marbles down the paths and knock people off the bridges and paths and stuff. Did it work in that the game mechanics were fun to play as a board game? Don't know. We never actually bothered.
Oh, okay.
We mostly used it as a way to, like, as a stage for other adventures.
Ah.
It was a way to, like, reenact, like, new Indiana Jones adventures and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think we tried to play it like 2 or 3 times and like lost interest in trying to get it to work.
Yeah, that's one of those that makes you wonder if it was because the commercial always made the game or toy look like it was going to be the most amazing thing ever.
Yeah.
And then the unboxing was like, oh.
I mean, it did look very cool, and playing around with it could be a lot of fun to like. So it had these bridges that were over rivers on the mountain.
Yep.
And you could, depending on where the like idol's face was facing, when you let the marble loose out of it, it would go down a different path. And if it went down one of like the paths that you were walking along, it might knock you off the path. If it went down one of the rivers, it might knock the underside of a bridge and tip you off a bridge. Because, like, theoretically on a bridge, that's not part of the path. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
On a bridge, you should be safe. But then if it goes down a river, the bridges aren't safe, but the paths are. So, like, it definitely mechanically worked the way it was supposed to in terms of, like, you let the marble loose and it rolls down and knocks people off of things.
Okay.
But yeah, actually, like, playing with the rules of the game, couldn't tell ya.
It turns out these guys also need brass on them. That's cool. Glad I looked that up now.
It's coming together.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, $200 for a card. No, thank you, DG, though. We did not play with either of the expansions last night for Ghost Stories. We had both expansions with us. But we did not play with either of them because Andy and I had not played yet. So we wanted to play the basic game before we went playing with an expansion. Let's take a look at how Zero's truck is looking here with the wash on it. Looks like the wash is largely drying, which is nice. It's just this last bit that's wet. I think that, look at how dirty and...
That looks excellent.
Like, that came out just the way I wanted it to. Heavier at the bottom. Yeah. I'm really happy with Zero's truck. Just looks real dirty. As it should. Yeah. That's almost done. Needs a little bit of highlighting, a little bit of touch-up here and there. But for the most part, that's good to go.
Yeah, we had a house cleaning nightmare. About a year ago, just up the road from here, actually.
Oh no.
One of my friend's fathers passed away very unexpectedly.
Ooh.
And his mother and his sister ended up needing to move, as the house was just far too big and far too expensive for them to be able to handle on their own. And we helped them do the move, and it was the easiest move I've ever been involved in. Because they left behind most of their stuff. They took their personal things, and they got like all new furniture and all this. So that was great. It was like a half a day. We were done.
Yeah. Then there's all that stuff.
Pizza and beer. Yeah, great. And then that was just the precursor of what was to come. Is he then needed to clean the house out so they could sell it.
Right. Easy move, but then...
We're talking about it was a split level, kind of raised ranch.
Okay.
4 bedrooms. And a whole downstairs had been and more to the point, we have 25 or so years of a 5-person family.
Yeah.
And all the accumulated stuff and detritus that
goes
comes
with
along
that.
with that.
Yeah.
And then the cats and the birds had been allowed to run wild.
Roam free?
Yes.
Oh boy.
So the cats apparently felt that the corners of the room were their litter box.
Oh God.
So lots of that. The birds they created little nests for them all over the place. The entire top of one of the hutches was a bird little sanctuary. That was a surprise when we took it apart.
I would imagine so. And not a fun, oh man, look at this sort of surprise.
That was not the phrase we simultaneously used.
Nope. I can imagine other phrases that might get used in such a situation.
It was one of those moments that we almost wish had been filmed because it was just that amazing and horrifying.
Oh man.
And unfortunately, his mother had started to hoard. Like, not full on, I'm going on the A&E special series
But
yet.
definitely I'm holding on to things I don't need.
Yes, and not really cleaning much
Yeah.
or kind of at all. And they had the thick pile carpeting.
Oh no.
It was so dirty.
Did you just rip it up?
Well, eventually, the carpet was so filthy, it was slick to step. You could feel it through your shoes, right?
Oh God.
Yeah, it was heinous.
Just that sensation, I can imagine it. Oh no.
We filled 5 dumpsters with stuff. I remember coming down after work one day to help him out, and I say we filled it, like we packed it. We packed it like a moving truck, so we maximized the space, not just throwing things in, like carefully placing things.
Yeah.
And we filled it. And we went back in the house and we looked around and looked at each other and like, are little gnomes like carrying this stuff back in and putting it back? Because it feels like we've done nothing.
Feels like there's nothing gone here. Yeah.
But fortunately, one of the days his wife came down to help us. She's the one who noticed in the closets. It's like, hey guys, there's a wooden floor under this. Or do you think it's under the whole thing?
Yeah.
So we started cutting rugs up a little bit, and lo and behold, there was hardwood flooring under everything. Like, oh thank you.
Thank God.
So yes, all the rugs were ripped out. We spent another afternoon or evening pulling several thousand staples out, but it was far better than trying to
I mean, I do know that story. When my parents bought their house, they bought their house from a couple that had lived there for a very long time and who had owned a hardware store. Now, that may sound innocuous, but what it means is that the folks who owned this house were fixer-uppers on their own. Like, they thought, if something is broken, I will figure out how to fix it.
Oh no.
So there was a lot of stuff that had been done sort of very amateurly, which my parents didn't discover until later on. And there were a lot of things like the fireplace and the flue in the fireplace was painted.
Okay, so my first question, if I may, why? And then my second question, How?
No, we haven't asked. And it's only like reaches as far as like the human arm can reach.
Oh, okay.
But definitely the interior of the fireplace is painted. We never used it when I was a kid. My mom still doesn't use it.
I'm actually impressed.
But you know, it's black. And so we never used it. And it's in like a really awkward place in the living room, so it just always sat there empty. But stuff like that was definitely a hallmark of like my house growing up. And it had this harvest gold carpet. Like just wall to wall, regular short pile carpet in, you know, you would call it harvest gold because it was from the 70s, but legitimately it was like mustard yellow. It was ugly. Like, it was ugly. So my mother wanted new rugs at one point. She was going to have someone come in and like make an estimate for carpeting and stuff. And she said, well, they want to know like what sort of like subflooring is under it, but I don't even know how to go about looking. So she had the guy come in. He said, do you mind if I pull up some of the carpet just to see what's underneath and like what sort of flooring we're talking about covering? Because that's going to change like how we put the carpet down and everything. He goes to pull a corner of the carpet up. He rips it up. And he was like, you have hardwood. I don't think you want me to do this. Which is amazing that like this guy was like, you don't want my help with this. You want to be like cleaning this up and getting this dealt with nicely because you do not want carpet over this. So yeah, to his credit, he did not try to like bilk my parents out of money and keep going with it. He actually like said no. So we pulled all the carpets up and lo and behold, yeah, hardwood throughout the entire house. Like the whole house. So we had rugs, not carpet. From then on.
How much other stuff had they left behind? Like hundreds and hundreds of the jars of screws and nails and...
Some of that. There is definitely some stuff like in the basement that we did not bring into that house. And it was there when we got there. I mean, I was like a year old when we moved into that house, so they've been there ever since.
I mean, you can get some good stuff from those. That's how my friends got their first cat. They were looking at buying a recently vacated house. The woman who owned it had passed away.
Yeah.
And the estimate ranged between 40 and 60 cats that were living there. Yes.
That's a lot of cats.
That's a lot of cats.
I love cats, but that's too much cat.
That was part of the reason they didn't ultimately end up getting... The house was not in good repair. But
no, it wouldn't be after that.
The MSPCA came and they did a culling. And they collected up all but apparently one. And this little guy was the survivor.
Yeah.
He got outside and he hid. But he survived it, but it also meant that he was now starving.
Right.
And between a couple times they went and visited the house, they kept seeing this little cat, and they finally coaxed him into a box, and they got him home, and they got him to the vet, and he lost his front claws as they were too far gone, and he lost all but 3 of his teeth.
Oh.
And they estimated him to be somewhere between 12, 16, or 200 at the time.
Yeah, goodness only knows at that point.
Yeah, he was ancient. He was a little survivor. But the good thing was that because of his experiences, some animals will try to bolt for the door anytime there's an open one.
Yep.
He would sit there and give it the evil eye. Like, can you close the death portal, please?
Yeah, I don't want to be out there.
I'm not going out there because that's where the lack of food is.
Yep.
he would get angry until the door was closed. Now, getting him out to go to the vet and things like that required...
That would be hard.
2 people, because somebody had to drive and somebody had to sit there and physically hold him.
Right.
Whether it was one of them or they needed me or somebody else to come over. And,
poor little guy.
he also sucked the life force out of 2 rabbits.
Wow. I had a cat who did that.
They had a hutch with some bunnies right out back, and he got real tired and morose and stopped eating, and he was losing a lot of weight, and they thought it was...
That's the end,
at the end, and then one of the rabbits dropped dead, and he bounced back. And then it happened the second time, a year or 2 later, like...
Vampire rabbit.
He was sucking the life force out of these bunnies.
Wow.
So if you get him one of those giant ones, he'll probably become a kitten again. And they finally broke down and got a second cat, as he was getting lonely during the day. And this ancient animal that spent approximately 22 to 23 hours completely sedentary initiated what can only be described as prison rules on this other poor cat, who was almost twice his size. So
and suddenly, like, what did you bring me into?
This other poor guy he's brain damaged. He's a little miniature puma, and he's got to be 1.5 feet long bodily, and his tail is over 1 foot long.
Oh man!
And at some point in his previous life, someone looks like seized him by the tail and whipped him around and cracked his skull open and left him for dead. So he's mostly better now. He has issues with things like object permanence and stuff like that. He can handle crickets because they're crunchy and apparently taste good. Anything bigger than that, he kind of freaks out. He did take out a vole once, but he cleaned up after himself, so everything was good.
But for the most part, he's like...
He's not even a beta. He's like a Charlie. And this little guy just abused the crap out of him. Anytime that he was almost getting attention,
he'd be over being like,
no. Yeah, he had a sense to it. All of a sudden, he'd come charging into the room. He'd headbutt him. He'd knock him over. He'd do figure eights, back and forth, body blocking. This
Cats,
animal
man.
twice his size, away from the hand petting him.
Cats.
What do I wish to do next? Oops. That. All right, next up. Nope, those are the ones I just touched, so I probably should wait a few minutes. That's not going to end well.
No.
I think anyone wants to hear the phrase "flip the table."
Yeah, no one wants to hear that. I gotta get that orange panel back there. I'm not happy about it.
It's gonna be a challenge, that's for sure. What color is the shipping container going to be?
It's sort of a brown. And then it's got lots of like panels and stuff bolted to it and taped onto it. Now that I've put that like double coat of tan over that, guess what? It's time for yellow. And it's like this light yellow too. I think it's gonna be buckskin pale.
Some good.
Look at that.
Ooh.
Post-it note yellow. Friend of mine had to wear a bridesmaid's dress this color. She is a redhead with an olive skin tone. Yellow does not look good on her, unfortunately. I don't think she is still friends with the person who put her in that dress.
I don't understand that concept, but that's just me.
It's really weird.
Like, you're my best friends. I'm going to embarrass you by making you wear these horrifying...
It's this like weird thing that you see when like you're a woman planning a wedding. People will be like, well, you want to make sure that none of your bridesmaids like takes eyes off of you on your special day. So it's this thought process that says that like you have to hide your bridesmaids behind ugly dresses.
Okay.
It's ridiculous. She was my maid of honor, and I told her, I was like, pick a dress that you're comfortable in and pick a color that delphiniums come in. I was like, I don't care exactly what color it is, just as long as it's a color that delphiniums come in, because delphiniums are my flower and it should like fit in. So as long as it's a color that delphiniums come in, I'm fine with it. So here's the style my wedding dress is going to be. Show me the style. I'll look at it. I'll probably say it's fine. And we're good to go. And that's what she did. She's like, what do you think about this? And I was like, that looks great. Do it. And then I was her matron of honor because I was married already. Different terminology. And she was like, oh, it's going to be easy. It'll be simple. You and my other friend are my only two bridesmaids, so I'll just have you two coordinate. As long as it works with my colors, I'll be fine. And I was like, oh, awesome, cool, laid back, chill. And then suddenly her other bridesmaid was also getting married. Like she got engaged while my friend was planning her wedding. And she started looking at like bridesmaids' dresses and stuff. And suddenly my friend was getting more into it. And suddenly she was like IMing me, being like, what do you think of this dress? And I was like, I think I can't wear that dress. She was like, well, what about this one? And I was like, no, I explained to you I can't wear strapless dresses. Like, I'm really uncomfortable in strapless dresses. And she was like, oh, okay, what about this one? I was like, that's a one-shoulder dress that might as well be strapless because there's no way that that strap is load-bearing.
I don't think you're understanding these concepts.
What about this one? Yeah, it has straps. Those straps are see-through. Like, they're basically just netting. So that's basically strapless. I just don't know what sort of dress I want you guys in. And I was like, okay, well, what feel are you going for your wedding? Like, what's your aesthetic?
Minimal straps, apparently.
What's your aesthetic? And she was like, oh, 20s. And I was like, I'm going to tell you something. 20s does not equal strapless or Grecian. So how about we not do like toga inspired stuff if you're trying to go for 20s? And she was like, well, what about this pattern? And I was like, yeah, that looks okay. And she was like, okay. So you should find a place that sells this brand and go try it on. So I look it up. Only bridal shop within like a decent distance of me that's not like out in Worcester is on Newbury Street. If it's on Newbury Street, it's going to be pricey. He's like, Suddenly this went from go find a dress at Macy's to you have to go to Newbury Street to buy your dress. It's not what I had been counting on.
I think we've reached a point where everybody I know that's going to get married has done so. And those of us that haven't probably ain't, so we're good.
Yeah. I have a wedding to go to in September. That's probably going to be it for me. Until I'm old enough that my friends' kids are getting married. By then I can wear whatever the hell I want. That yellow went on quite nicely, all things considered. Thanks to that tan. Oh, see?
Nice.
I mean, it's a horrible color, but...
Is that for the front end loader? Oh no, that matches the...
Yeah, it really is a nice pale yellow
Okay.
in there.
It's probably been a day or two since that left the Caterpillar factory.
Just a few. Yeah. Oh, this side came out really well with the wash.
That looks great.
I'm really happy with that. Look how dirty that looks, guys. So dirty. All right. I'm going to take a break with that, let it dry a bit. And we'll do some detail work on here. I'm going to have a Kit Kat. I grabbed a dark Kit Kat.
Okay. Do you like dark chocolate, I guess, becomes the question.
Dark Kit Kats are actually really good.
Thought I just heard someone down below say help desk.
Help desk,
I'm gonna
huh?
go full Samuel L. Jackson here from Pulp Fiction and say help desk again. That's not the right color for these guys. That's the right color for these guys. That would not have gone well.
I hear people playing Ethnos downstairs right now.
What's that?
I hear people playing Ethnos, which is a game with very uninspiring looking art, but really, really cool mechanics and stuff. Like, it's a really fun game, and it doesn't look like it will be.
I can never remember the name of it. There's a game, I think it's probably still floating around down there somewhere, that the front box art makes it look like it's going to be this epic, epoch-spanning, world-building / historical game. And then the back of it, it shows you the actual game parts and cards. And they look like the actual game pieces were illustrated by a 3rd or 4th grader, a very talented 3rd or 4th grader.
No.
But Not, well, I guess you guys spent all of your budget on the box
Yep.
and not on... That card sort of looks like Winston Churchill a little bit. Okay, that's too bad. I think it was also one of those games that suffered from people really wanting it to be this epic huge thing, and you reach a point, I feel like the board game can only handle so much.
Yeah.
Eventually you reach a point where you need the computer.
Yeah. There's Race for the Galaxy, which is actually a very good game. Roll for the Galaxy is really good too. So I have heard.
But there's so many expansions for Race now that it could take someone reasonably 15 to 20 minutes for their hand each turn.
Yeah.
And there's just, if you're playing with everything that's in it, there's just so much stuff for you to track that, yeah, you need we're crossing into this is a computerized game.
Yeah.
Or at least at a minimum a team game. But at its core, it's an excellent game. Every once in a while you'll get a total blowout, but it usually comes down to somebody's winning this turn. It's just a matter of who's going to get there first. It's also definitely a game of holding the cards that you know your opponent needs. Once you figure out what they're going for, like, I'm just not putting this one back in the deck. I'm never going to use it,
but I'm not letting you have it
because that's going to triple your points come the end game. Nope. What else we play? Galaxy Truckers. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's absurd, but it's a lot of fun. Watching as half your ship floats off into space.
Yeah. Oops. Okay. Do I want to redo the hood of this car? I'm not thrilled with it.
Which one's this?
The Firebird. It's a little messy. I'm not 100% on it.
Is it painted on molding or is it?
Nope, freehanded.
The lightning bolts look a little big, but that's going to be hard to deal with.
It's actually supposed to be like the flame wings of
okay.
a bird, but the problem is the engine block is coming up out of the hood, so that interrupts the hood, and you don't see the body of the bird.
Ah.
It's supposed to look like this. Sorry.
Oh, I get it, yeah. Yeah, that's hard to...
Yeah.
That's definitely hard to paint.
But I've gotten a new brush since I did this. So I think I'm going to try and redo it. It's like the 4th time I've redone this hood.
Have you tried the ultra sharp Sharpies?
I don't know. Do they come in gold?
I don't know about that.
Yeah, that's the trick. I've used the ultra fine like ones for black, and that I'm cool with. But for gold, I feel like I don't have much in the way of options.
What if you did the gold and then black?
Fill in with the
over it?
black?
Yeah.
I did think about doing that.
Yeah, those
Not
were-
as good with playing with negative space.
Those were definitely a plus for doing banners and things like that. Where you
Yeah.
get just ultra fine lines.
Let that sit for a bit. I think 0 is done.
I think Zero's ready to cruise across the wasteland.
I think she is. Clean up the undercarriage a bit. Happy about that. I'm good. Actually. You gotta make time to stretch. Especially when you're like hunched over.
I just heard someone say elves are really cool, and I feel like the dwarf lovers around here are like, no, they're not.
No, they're all losers. pompous brat.
There's... I don't really know anyone that always plays an elf, but I do know quite a few people who, if it's an option, will always play a dwarf. They're a dedicated and hardy bunch. Oops. Okay.
Actually, I managed to get a pretty decent coat on that.
Touch, how did I not?
Is it not opening?
No, I did real. You know what? I'm doing it my way.
What we are is leaders of land or whatever, trying to take down the for so it'll be a lot of time.
Alright, making some progress here.
Good. All right. Time for the gold. I'm going for the gold. (1978) Pontiac Trans Am Firebird. All right. Why do I keep pulling out the same paint? As if it's going to suddenly be a different color paint.
I mean, sometimes.
I'm like,
yeah,
well, it's gold. Nope, that's the wrong one. Okay, where is it? This one. Nope, that's still not gold. That's still exactly the same color as the last time I pulled it out.
That's not
The gold is next to it.
We've got a variety of them here.
I've got a nice antique gold for that.
Gold. I've also, if you want to highlight, I've got brass and bronze.
Ooh. See, I did all the other gold details with this antique gold, so I think I'm just going to stick with that so that it matches.
The brass can make for some cool highlights depending on the set, but I don't think you'll need that for the models of this size.
Not for this, yeah. Why it's there.
Yeah, I think they've been sitting on my front seat for a couple weeks, and I think they may have started to cook the paints inside the tubes.
I feel like that's cleaner.
Yeah, that looks good.
It looks more like the wings instead of just like jagged lines.
Yeah, it looked like lightning bolts before, so it still looked good, but definitely that gives it the definition of the bird a lot better.
Better.
Yes, taking advantage of somebody new and cheating, that will totally get people to want to continue to play
Oh,
the game.
yeah. I love it when someone takes advantage of me not knowing the rules and cheats and makes me sad. That's always great. I always leave that game feeling like I want to play with that person all the time.
Or just want to continue playing that game in general.
Yeah.
Actually,
Wow, I messed up that window really bad. That was kind of the point. I was sort of just slapping yellow paint around because it's easier to cover over the window after the fact than it is to carefully get a line of yellow around the edge of it without messing it up.
here we go again.
Too much paint?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've never done anything this kind of burnished and battered before, so this is
Isn't it fun?
definitely a new challenge.
Damage is really interesting to play around with. Having been doing like all these Wasteland trucks.
I haven't even taken some of them that far yet. They probably should be really filthy and battered for what they are.
Yeah. Ah, no, water, I dripped.
Uh-oh.
Everything's fine. Go. I'm feeling good about this thing.
What's that?
I'm feeling good about it. It's looking good. It's looking the way I want it to look. Giant skull.
Whoa! Ah, almost. There's nothing down there on the floor for you, buddy. Stay up here at the table with the rest of us. I don't know if the rug was marketed with the color directly as GW Plastics Gray, but it's pretty close.
Perfect camouflage.
You can always guarantee that the thing missing is going to be like a head or an arm, something real small.
And essential.
The plastics are also made of a physics-defying material that will send them flying, and I don't even understand how it went that far or that direction.
Yep.
Kick that child out.
Yeah.
Haven't seen it yet. Okay, I still haven't seen Black Panther. I'm sorry. I am behind.
That's okay. Though Black Panther is amazing, and you should definitely 100% see it.
I want to. My roommate has it on his Xbox. So by the time he got back from work yesterday, he's like, "No, yeah." I don't blame you, buddy. He was pretty cooked. So.
Someone's on the way upstairs.
How's it going, guys?
Hi.
So far, so good.
I'm thinking I might actually be done. My eyes are starting to cross.
Okay.
So,
All right. Well, if you want to say fare thee well to our wonderful chat,
cutie bye.
See you later.
And yeah, thanks for joining us, everybody.
Yeah.
I hope they had fun. And we will be back next week.
Yes.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.